And I know it feels like, oh my God, there's nobody. Of course it fucking feels that way because your subconscious has been attracting a bunch of nobodies. Hey guys, welcome back to the Mental Health Comic Verse. Welcome if this is your first time here. It's your girl, Harley Quinn. And today I want to talk about toxic relationships. Why we keep finding ourselves in toxic relationships, why we are repeating them, why we're getting into them in the first place. So first I'm going to go over kind of level one, the surface level of why we stay in toxic relationships. Then I want to get to the core and talk about traumatic reenactment. And lastly, I also want to go over the crossroads that we face when we finally leave a toxic relationships and the number one mistake that we make when we do get out of one. So let's start with the surface level. Why do we stay in toxic relationships? Because we're afraid of change, because we're comfortable. We don't want to leave a situation that we've invested so much time and energy into, right? Another reason is because we don't want to look stupid. We have made long-term plans. We've introduced them to friends and families. We've stood up for them. We've done all types of things that we just do not have it in us to let it go and just let it all crash to the ground because there's too much history. Especially if you've made all these plans and you have a specific vision in your mind and you feel like that vision is attainable with this person, you still have that little slice of hope. That little slice of hope will drag you along. And another reason is, of course, love. Oh my God, I love him so much. I'll never find another connection like this. He just gets me. He's so romantic when he fucks up. He's so romantic when he wants something. And no one's ever treated me this good. And you know, when you've experienced that high of your relationship being really good and everything is in place and everything feels right, it's hard to let that go because you've seen what it can be like. And so you hold on to that hope, hoping that it'll go back to that connection that you initially had with this person. So those are basically the surface level reasons. We don't want to feel like a failure. We don't want to seem like a failure. And it all derives from a space of fear. So now let's get into the core issue, which is traumatic reenactment. So let me start from the beginning. Between the ages of 0 and 7, this is when we are being programmed. This is when our subconscious is being built. This is when we're internalizing love or no love, worthy or not worthy. We're kids, so we're not going to be logical about it. We're not going to say, I understand that my parents are out working. I understand that my parents love me, but just don't know how to communicate it. So this point in our lives is very crucial because the amount of love that we receive is going to determine our toxic patterns in our future. So this doesn't just apply to people with daddy issue. This applies to anyone who didn't feel like they got their emotional needs met. And that gets internalized at a very young age and it gets carried on. So to sum it up, the core reason is because our inner child is trying to heal a core wound. Remember, you guys, we only use 10% of our motherfucking brain. So do not be fooled into thinking you're good, you're good, you're good, you got this. How many times have you been in a fucked up relationship and someone's giving you advice, telling you something, and you're just like, I know. Only to end up in the same type of situation, only to end up complaining and crying about the same thing somehow. How do you know, but it still happens? So traumatic reenactment is our brain going into defense mode in order to protect us. So our subconscious mind is reenacting our trauma from our childhood in order to recreate that situation and heal that wound, to get that love from this person because you couldn't get it from your parents. And that's just how our brain works. That's how our defense mechanism works. Our brain wants us to be comfortable, even if it costs us our health. And this YouTuber that I love, her name is New Mindframe. I'll link her video down below. She has an amazing video on this explaining it so well. So she gives two very good examples. One is drug addiction, and the second was basically fear of success, and how when we want to pursue our dreams, chase our passions, start something new, anything new, we start to procrastinate, we start to self-sabotage, we do a bunch of things that go against our goals because our brain is preparing us for the failure of what it can be. So we just don't start at all and we procrastinate. Those are two very good examples of how our defense mechanisms work against us sometimes. So in this scenario, it is no different. Our subconscious is used to someone who is not present or someone whose presence is very minimal. You're constantly fighting in order to be a priority, or you're constantly fighting in order to be seen, in order to get love. You always have to do a little bit of extra, and you still never got that love that you wanted. So now you're recreating it in your relationships. You're being attracted to the same type of people who do not have that emotional love that you need, because they're just like your parents, right? And just like your parents, they're most likely not going to change. Hopefully they will sometime in in their life. And the thing is, even if we don't realize it, those toxic people we are most comfortable around, because that's what we are familiar with. Thank God for the time that we live in now, where information is so much more accessible. We all know about self-love. We all know about our subconscious a little bit. We have the little bits of information and we always hear about it, but it has to click to us in a certain type of way for all the dots to connect and for it to make sense. And the thing is, this applies to everyone. This doesn't just apply to the person who's staying in the toxic relationship and is attracting the assholes, but also the assholes and the people that are creating the toxic situation. Those people also come from a place of not getting the love that they needed. So now they're detached and they're not able to form healthy relationships either. So let's talk about the aftermath, because this is when we're met with two options, two paths, one crossroads, and it's going to determine, are you going to stay on the same path and repeat the same damn cycle, or are you finally going to break free, fly away, be free, and become a whole new person? So let's talk about the first path, the most common path. Why do we repeat the same cycles and the same type of toxic relationships? Because, bitch, we don't realize we're doing it. That's why. So I think the reason why this happens is because we're blinded by hurt, because the person that we were with was so toxic. There was so much negativity. They just did you wrong. They treated you horribly, and you're just really hurt. So you're focused on healing. You're just trying to get out of something where you were both unhappy. So maybe you just don't see it that way, right? So what I'm trying to say is, what I really want you guys to realize is, any toxic person that is put in front of you that has done you wrong, they are a reflection of where you are, where you were. And it doesn't mean that they're literally a reflection of the type of person you are. The people who do us wrong can be completely opposite of who we are. So it's hard to wrap our heads around it. And sometimes we don't get to that point of what am I doing wrong and flipping the script and seeing how am I missing all these red flags, because the red flags are always there. We just choose to ignore them. Sometimes you have to flip the script and put the mirror on yourself. That's never to say that you deserve what happened to you, that you brought it on yourself, that you, any of those things. This all happens subconsciously without us even really realizing it, right? On a conscious level, we know I deserve better than this. I shouldn't be in this. But somehow we end up forgiving. If you have codependent tendencies, if you're a people pleaser, if you're an empath, if you're all three things, then that's definitely heightened to the max. When you have a codependent, when you have basically a clingy attachment to somebody, it really feels like your world is crumbling apart and like you're dying. And I know that sounds so overdramatic, but for a codependent person, for someone who has those type of traumatic wounds, it really feels like you are dying. And it can be hard to see how leaving this person can be the right decision when it feels so wrong. But really, it's not your love, it's your attachment. It's your toxic attachment style to them that's making you feel like this relationship is so detrimental. And the thing is, a lot of women know that they're in messed up situations. It's not like they're actually dumb people and I don't know what's going on. I'm just gonna be treated like shit and get stepped on and look stupid, and this is what I want with my life. So it's really hard to steer away from path one, but hopefully eventually it does happen for most people, especially when you come to your breaking point after you've been in toxicity for so long and you just had the end of it, and you're finally forced to reflect on yourself and reflect on what's really going on behind the scenes and why this keeps happening to you. Luckily, in this day and age, we have YouTube, we have all these resources to find out what's going on with this. Let me Google that, and maybe we'll come across something that'll put us on to the information that we need to make the changes that will get us onto this other level, right? So let's talk about path number 2, breaking the cycle, morphing into a butterfly, becoming a whole new you, leveling up. Yes, it sounds like rainbows and sunshines and love and just good stuff and dancing all the time on the new path when you break the cycle, but that is not the case. And I'm not here to discourage anybody, but I just want you to know that it's okay. There's a lot of work that goes into path number 2 because you are deprogramming years. However old you are, you're not going to undo that overnight. It's going to take a while and it's a process and it can be very draining. And it can be very scary, which is why sometimes we have the knowledge, we have the information, we know what we have to do, and we still choose not to do it, and we still choose to go with path number 1 because our brain wants to soothe our pain the easiest way, the fastest way it knows how. So there's a lot of work that goes into path number 2, which can be a reason why people procrastinate on it and still end up in path number 1. So if you're fresh out of a toxic breakup or any breakup for that matter, and you're trying to heal yourself, do not date, do not entertain other people. Not only are you using them to not feel as lonely, but you may be involving their energy and whatever they come with in your healing process. Even if you think
this is only temporary, I only see this person for X, Y, and Z. I just want to talk to them to get my mind off things.
Well, that's where the work is hard. When you're going through those types of things, it should be you that gives yourself that love before you jump into another whatever. So obviously you can approach the situation however you would like to. I have no judgment. I'm just saying that it's in your own best interest. And yes, it does help. And yes, it is soothing. But when you have to sit alone with yourself and you have to face all that stuff you don't want to, at the bottom, at rock bottom, where all those feelings are buried, all that hurt, that's where the breakthrough happens. So
it's up to you guys. It's up to you guys, okay?
And to give you guys a very good personal example, I dated the Joker. He was a motherfucking crazy bitch, and I chose path number 1. Even though it seemed like I was healing and I was doing better, I was still not breaking the cycle because I started dating Poison Ivy right away. And she was still neglecting me. She was still not giving me the love that I needed, and I was still just moving my attachment from the Joker to Poison Ivy. And the thing about healing from toxicity is you start to realize it's not just in your romantic relationships. It trickles down into all areas of your life. Not everyone is toxic, but if you have toxic behaviors, it does carry on into your other relationships. So even if that person is not doing you wrong, it could be a toxic relationship just on the fact that you're always giving to this person and never getting anything back, or you're always trusting this person and this person is never trusting you back, or whatever it is, right? So that's another thing that you should be prepared for and ready to reflect on is your current standing relationships and how you can improve them and make sure that you're not having a toxic relationship where there's an imbalance. This is the moment where it all starts. And even though it feels like you can't do it and you're not going to get there, you will, because the beginning stages is always going to be hard. You're going to be in a shell. You're going to get introverted. You're going to feel lonely as fuck. You're going to just hate everything for a bit. And that's okay. That's just the process. But I hope that you finally find the courage and the strength to finally get on path number 2 and fly. Be flying free. Speak butterfly language. Read between the lines. See between the eyes. Feel it and fuel it. Grab your abundance, change your life, get healthy relationships. I want to let you guys know that you can fucking do it, and you guys can and will find a great person for you. You will. And I know it feels like, oh my God, there's nobody. Of course it fucking feels that way because your subconscious has been attracting a bunch of nobodies. But once you finally shift yourself and how you are and who you are attracting subconsciously, does it not make more sense that you're finally going to attract good people?
Yes, you are. You will. You're going to do it. Don't worry. You got this. Okay? That's it. That's it. Case closed.
Anyways, you guys, I hope this video was helpful and informative to you. Even if you don't feel like this is a cycle for you, if anybody in your life is toxic and you're breaking free from that toxicity, make sure you're reflecting on yourself and asking yourself, why was this person put into my life? Even if you don't feel like I didn't attract this person, I didn't do whatever, just reflect on it. Just ask yourself that one question and really dig deep. And just remember that the people who are looking down on you, that are talking shit about you, that think that you're so stupid and weak, if they went through half of what you went through, they would have crumbled to the floor. You don't even know your own strength and your own capability. It is in you. Look at all the stuff that you are able to put up with. Look at all the energy, all the negative energy that you've fed into. Imagine if you put that strength into a positive setting, into a positive thing. You can do it. Thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and I cannot wait to meet you, connect with you somewhere along path number 2, and just succeed together. All right, I love you guys so much. Stay flying free, and I'll see you guys next time.